coming on the air tonight with new developments in an unprecedented deposition related to the Epstein investigation. Hillary Clinton telling lawmakers she doesn't have any new information to give them on Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and that she never even met him. Why a leaked picture caused a break in the action when we take you live in just a minute to Chappaqua. And Cuba now says it's working with the U.S. as that government also says it'll defend itself against aggression after its military killed 4 people in a speedboat shootout. The latest on that. Plus, the serial stowaway striking again. New video of her slipping past gate agents to get on yet another international flight and what the airline is saying about how this could have happened again. Then the search for the people suspected of firing more than 50 shots at a Washington home in the middle of the night while a family slept inside. Then AI maybe becoming the manners police at your favorite fast food spot, making sure your cashier says please and thank you. The new front in the so-called friendly wars later in the show. Hey, I'm Hallie, and tonight we start with the dramatic closed-door testimony happening right now in upstate New York. This is the former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. And so far, from this deposition today, we've learned she's told lawmakers she doesn't know anything about Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. Want to give you a live look now outside the building. That's where this has been happening. And yes, it's 5 o'clock Eastern. They're still going. Right, this is still very much live. You can see some of the crew that's there a little bit moving in front of the camera. It's fair to say that Clinton is not happy about any of this with this deposition. She's accusing Republicans of, in her words, going on fishing expeditions. At one point, they actually stopped the Q&A altogether because a picture was sent to Benny Johnson, the conservative pundit. We're going to show you that here. Clinton's accusing the GOP of using her and her husband to distract attention from President Trump's actions and cover them up, despite what she calls legitimate calls for answers. Now, her husband, of course, former President Bill Clinton, his name and pictures do appear in the Epstein files. He's going to get his turn tomorrow. Right, that's when his deposition will be. Same place, same kind of thing. And now House Democrats say, OK, that opens the door for President Trump to come and answer their questions on Epstein, too. Watch this.
This committee has now set a new precedent about talking to presidents and former presidents. And we're demanding immediately that we ask President Trump to testify in front of our committee and be deposed in front of oversight Republicans and Democrats.
To be clear, President Trump has never been charged in connection to Epstein and says he didn't do anything wrong. The Clintons have also repeatedly denied wrongdoing. They have not been accused of any crimes in connection with Epstein. I want to bring in now Ryan Nobles, who's in Chappaqua, New York. That's where these depositions are going down. Ryan, what's interesting here, we know the Clintons had wanted this to be public. We know it's likely that we'll see something, video, a transcript from this. We haven't seen that yet because this thing is still literally happening. But we are getting some information from lawmakers about what's going on behind closed doors.
Yeah, and I think that what we've heard predominantly from Democrats, because Republicans talked before the hearing started and we have not heard from them since, is that Hillary Clinton has answered every single question. She's not taken the Fifth Amendment. And she's made it abundantly clear over and over again that she had no relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. She never recalls even meeting him or flying on his private jet or going to his private island, anything along those lines. And she certainly had no insight to any of his criminal activity. But still, Republicans on the panel still think that there was value in hearing from her today. Listen to what they said before the hearing began earlier this morning.
So this isn't a partisan witch hunt. This was a motion, a bipartisan motion supported by the Democrats to bring the Clintons in. So I don't think it's any type of being unfair in any way to the Clintons.
Now, Chairman Comer's description of it being a bipartisan vote is not completely accurate. It certainly wasn't unanimous. But regardless, Democrats have not stood in the way of this deposition or the one tomorrow with her husband, Bill Clinton, taking place. The questions have always been, what is it that Hillary Clinton can offer? What Republicans told us today is that they have questions about the Clinton Global Initiative. That's the couple's philanthropic organization. There were some donations from Epstein and Maxwell to that organization. And also, Ghislaine Maxwell was apparently at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. We're told that the secretary explained that as she being a friend of a friend who was invited to the wedding. So that's the most substance that we've gotten so far. But again, this hearing's not over yet, and we're going to hear from Republicans and their point of view in the very near future.
I mean, we're talking hours and hours. Do you know, I don't know if we know how much longer it's going to go, or it's just TBD?
No, in fact, I've been talking to folks inside the room, and they cannot give me a firm time when they think it is over. The sense is that it should wrap up here in the next 2 hours or so. But what I think is interesting about the timeline here, Hallie, that they've been asking Hillary Clinton questions for this long, given that her name never appears in the files. It can only forecast what will be a very long day tomorrow with the former president.
I was just going to ask you about that, because we've also seen a fairly robust, let's call it, rapid response operation on behalf of the Clintons here on their part. And I imagine that that is going to also be kept up when the former president testifies tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't come out and responded to each and every little thing that has been leaked out from the hearing room at this point. But it's clear that the Clintons are trying to present a united front here. They believe for a long time that this hearing should have just been open to the public. They reiterated that point again today. Their staffers have been kind of going back and forth with some of the Republicans on the internet today, pushing back in different forms and fashions. I think none of that really matters, Hallie. At the end of the day, it's the substance of what comes out of these depositions and whether or not they move the ball forward in terms of the Epstein investigation. That, I think, will be critical, and we're not going to know that until these deposition transcripts and videos are released.
All right, Ryan, we're going to check back in with you as this thing continues, perhaps into the evening there. Appreciate that. Ryan Noble's live for us in Chappaqua. We've got to get to some breaking news now, because we're just learning in literally the last couple of minutes, as Ryan was talking, that American citizens were apparently on that boat registered in Florida, on which the Cubans say 4 people were killed and 6 hurt after a shootout with officials. The Cuban government just releasing a new statement saying it's willing to exchange information with the U.S. and that the U.S. has shown it's willing to cooperate. We're also just learning this boat was apparently stolen, according to a report we're getting from a Florida sheriff's office. The man apparently only learned his ship may have been taken when this all hit the news, like 24 hours ago, just about. Here's the map again of where this played out, about 100 miles off the coast of the U.S. Everything we know so far, most of it is coming from the Cuban side. We showed you Secretary of State Marco Rubio breaking news last night on the show. He's been saying he's not going to take the word of the Cubans. All of it against a backdrop of a growing humanitarian crisis in Cuba, as it's basically about to run out of oil because of this blockade pressure campaign by the Trump administration. Let me get to Gabe Gutierrez, who's live for us at the White House. And Gabe, I know you have more on that breaking news now, because there had been a question of the citizenship of those on board.
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. Look, 2 U.S. officials confirmed to NBC News that there were U.S. citizens on board that ship. Now, at least one of those people, at least one of the people who was killed is a U.S. citizen, according to those 2 U.S. officials. Another U.S. citizen is apparently among the injured and is now being treated in Cuba at that hospital. So you mentioned that new statement as well from the Cuban government. There was just a press conference that happened a short time ago in Havana as well. And Cuban authorities say that they are willing to share information with the United States, Hallie. That is significant, because up until this point, we did not know for sure whether the Cuban government would cooperate with the U.S. In this investigation. We also understand, according to those 2 U.S. officials, that Secretary Rubio has formally asked the Cuban government to speak with the injured individuals. He said he was going to do that yesterday. But again, a lot of unanswered questions here about the motivations for these people and why they took this boat down to Cuba. Now, 2 sources close to at least one of the men who is detained say that at least some of those on board the ship were part of an anti-Castro group. Now, again, there's been a lot of distrust between these 2 countries over the decades, and Cuba tonight is accusing the U.S. of, that there's been a long history of potentially, groups in the United States trying to infiltrate Cuba. Again, the Trump administration at this point isn't taking that information or believing it outright, but they're calling for their own independent investigation. But again, the breaking news, Hallie, according to 2 U.S. officials, American citizens were on board that ship.
And Gabe, tip of the spear on the reporting on that. We appreciate that. What about the U.S. side? I mean, you've talked about some of the complications regarding trying to get information on this, how the detail is a little thin. Is it, the State Department? Is it the Secretary of State who's running this? Is it somebody from NSC on the White House side? Do we even have a clue?
Well, look, a lot of this is flowing through the State Department. Of course, Secretary Rubio, very well-versed, of course, in everything regarding Latin America. He's been involved in Cuba policy for so long. Now, we have reached out to the White House officially. They've declined to comment on any of these details. The CIA has declined to comment. Also, so is the Department of Homeland Security, which is also involved in this investigation. But again, the State Department is referring us back to Secretary Rubio's comments yesterday, saying that they are still waiting to gather the facts here, and then once they have those facts, they will respond appropriately. Hallie.
Gabe Gutierrez running around there on the North Lawn. Gabe, thank you very much. Let's take it to some more developing news with police in Iran right now carrying out the mass arrests of people who they think are a threat to the regime. And that's as Iran is very much in the news, as you know. These arrests right now are coming after that huge crackdown against anti-government protests that broke out across the country some weeks back. Activist groups say now more than 7,000 people were killed. We're seeing new clashes now at universities there. And Iran says it's now making significant progress with the U.S. in negotiations to try to avert another war. Because remember why Iran has been so relevant lately. President Trump has threatened a potential missile strike or some kind of a strike on Iran. The talks are happening now. You just saw Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff involved in those. Let me bring in our Keir Simmons, who's live with us for more on this. I mean, you pick where you want to start. The arrests, the talks, the tensions. This is a region on edge for a lot of reasons.
It sure is. Let's start with the talks. No breakthrough, Hallie. Now, 2 U.S. officials tell NBC News that the talks were positive. The Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi saying it's been the most serious talks so far, saying we finished the day after significant progress in the negotiation between the United States and Iran and will resume soon after consultation in our respective capitals. The mediator suggesting that those talks might actually even resume next week. But that being said, the USS Ford aircraft carrier left Crete today on its way to the eastern Mediterranean. So it is soon going to be joining the other aircraft carrier, the Lincoln, in this region. President Trump has an enormous amount of firepower. We've said it before. It remains the case. And it only takes for him to decide to strike Iran. Frankly, that will happen. So you've got two sides that don't trust each other and are threatening each other even while these negotiations are happening, and the protests too, Hallie.
So talk about those protests. Talk about these threats, these mass arrests, et cetera, Keir, and you know, put it contextually, if you will, on the sort of sliding scale of what we've seen in Iran the last 6 months or so.
Oh, yeah, it's not like last month, but it is significant. The mourning period, the period of mourning has ended. And traditionally in Iran, the protests do reignite at that point. You remember how the Iranian regime crushed those protests. And so it's not surprising that we're not saying them on the same scale. The question is whether strikes by the Trump administration would help the protesters, if you like. And it is a big question because, just for context, the risks are enormous too, that, for example, if it is regime change, but of course from a distance, not boots on the ground, will leadership in Iran be replaced by more hardline leadership? Could Iran as a country even collapse, and could different ethnic groups look for their own opportunity to run their own regions, their own states, if you like? There are multiple ethnic groups in Iran. So that's the kind of thing that President Trump is weighing up as he thinks about whether to strike Iran at this stage, Hallie.
Keir Simmons covering all of it for us tonight. Keir, thank you as always. Also tonight, the rather infamous stowaway we talked a lot about a few years back has apparently stowed away again. Svetlana Dali. Look at this video. Shows her sneaking onto a flight from Newark to Milan, just like, whoop, there she, whoop, right around. Didn't scan, just popped right on. Sources familiar tell us she's sitting right there on this United Airlines flight, where the crew apparently didn't notice her until the plane was already over the Atlantic. The airline and federal authorities say they're looking into it. Remember, she was sentenced to a few months in prison for doing basically the same thing back in 2024. Here's a side-by-side. The prior incident there on the left, she walks right past agents onto a Delta flight from New York to Paris, the most recent one on the right. Tom Costello is covering this one for us. There is an element of like, whoa, holy cow to this. but also a security element. How is it? How, with all of the security apparatus that's in place when you get on flights, how did this happen again?
How did it happen again? Has she done it before and been successful?
Well,
by the way,
that's a good point.
How many other people have been successful? Why in the world is there this gaping, what appears to be a gaping security lapse with the TSA? How did she get past the ID check at TSA? And then how does she jump right past the gate agents there at United Airlines? That's almost precisely what she did with the Delta Airlines case in 2024. And we don't know whether she's done it other times as well. I talked to an aviation security expert who said, listen, this is now posing a serious security challenge and a threat, and we need answers. Take a listen.
If they're able to bypass the screening process somehow, that's even more of a risk, which is what really needs to be assessed here. Some layers can fail, but other layers are designed to catch that. If she's bypassing those layers, then that's a serious issue beyond how serious it is now.
Yeah, Jeff Price making the point, you know, she may just kind of appear like a typical grandma and she slides right through because people don't expect that would be a terrorist. But listen, if she could do it, then couldn't somebody from Al-Qaeda or ISIS? Take a look at her history here of doing this. Again, these are the cases that we actually know about. She, in fact, had this Delta Airlines flight that we talked about, New York to Paris. She was caught and then sent back, as you know, back to New York. She got through security at Bradley International by hiding among passengers. And then she was in a bathroom in Miami in the arrival zone without a valid ticket. How did she end up there? So now she's going to come back, and she will be certainly found to have violated the terms of her release because she essentially was given time served for the event back in 2024. And now she's also going to probably have to face time in Italy, or for her violation of going to Italy. But guess what? She's MIA right now. She got off the plane in Milan. She wanted asylum, according to our sources, and disappeared. So we don't know where she is.
But can I ask you, too, would she have already been on a no-fly list?
But she didn't have an ID. So, yeah, she probably was on a no-fly list, but she shows up without an ID and a boarding pass, and she manages to get on board the plane.
Nothing from TSA, no statements from...
TSA is not commenting. Okay. United Airlines says it's investigating. It's cooperating with this investigation. But like I said, if she could do it, how many others have already done it?
Ooh, Tom Costello, what an interesting story. Thank you so much for bringing that to us. Appreciate you. Let's take it to the West now, where investigators are getting ready to hand Nancy Guthrie's home back over to Savannah and her family, as we are now in the agonizing fourth week of her disappearance. Look at the activity. We saw it at the home in the last 24 hours. That activity was apparently in preparation for the handover, according to 2 federal law enforcement sources. And we're told this is a pretty normal transition in criminal investigations. It means the family, the Guthries, are now going to have access to go back to the home. All of it as the FBI tip line has gotten some 23,000 calls since Nancy was taken from her home early in the morning of February 1st, according to a senior official familiar with the investigation. That tip line number, we're going to show it to you. We're going to keep showing it to you. 1-800-CALL-FBI. Jesse Kirsch is on the ground for us in Tucson tonight. And Jesse, we've heard it from officials. All it takes is one tip to change this whole case if somebody thinks they know something.
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. And to be clear, for people who are out there watching this, if someone knows something and is worried about themselves getting in trouble, you can submit a tip anonymously. There are multiple ways to do it. You can do it through the FBI's website. You can do it through an organization known as Crime Stoppers. And there's a lot of money up for grabs right now. The hope is that the more than $1 million that is now being offered between what the Guthrie family is offering and the FBI and others, the hope is that there's enough incentive out there for someone to come forward. And here's a little bit more from a former FBI agent about how someone can go about submitting information without giving up their identity.
There's no ID. There's nobody there. It's completely anonymous, depersonalized, so you can just pick up your reward money, and that's the end of it. There's no concern if you have a criminal record, if you're undocumented. If you have a tip in this case, that's what they want most.
So again, the first and foremost thing they're looking for is information that will lead to Nancy Guthrie. And the hope is that there is enough incentive out there right now. As you mentioned, we are now in week 4. It is day 26 in the search for Savannah's mother. There continue to be flowers outside of her home this week, showing support from this community. We know there's support stretching well beyond the Tucson area as well. And so many people hoping that Nancy will be able to come home safely, Hallie. Again, we're now in the 4th week in this search, the agony for that family continuing.
And so many of us, and I know you, thinking of Savannah, thinking of our dear friend and colleague and her family. Jesse Kirsch, appreciate you. Thank you very much. It's taken out of people in the Midwest who are dealing with another round of intense weather. Rain and snow expected to hit this weekend. And then guess what? It's aiming for the mid-Atlantic. The winter system coming as temps are ready to warm up in the Northeast. That's currently digging out from all the snow left behind from, yes, the blizzard. Bill Cairns is joining us now. Okay, give it to us straight, my friend. What's up?
Yeah, last gasp. This doesn't look like it's going to be a huge ordeal, but a lot of people are going to be annoyed to see more snow. So this is the forecast as we go throughout Saturday. Notice all the red. Most of the country's fantastic, but another shot of cold air is coming down. It's only going to be 7 degrees on Saturday in International Falls in northern Minnesota, Minneapolis 21, Chicago 36. So this cold air is what's going to set the stage towards the end of the weekend, early next week for when we deal with the snow. That cold air moves to the Ohio Valley. By the time we get to early next week, notice D.C. only 33 on Monday. That's cold enough to snow. New York, 28. That's cold enough to snow and possibly stick on the ground. So even the paved roads. So here's how it all plays out. The storm begins Sunday evening. The blue shows you where the snow will be from the Quad Cities towards Chicago, central Illinois, heading into Indiana, maybe a little bit in Minneapolis too. Then it slides to the east, but it weakens. So it doesn't look like a big, huge ordeal Monday. Another little wave kind of ripples on this, and then it widespreads on Tuesday. This is according to our European model. Notice the pink on here. So even Tuesday morning, we could be dealing with some snow and some sleet. So this is the forecast from the European model. The white shows you where there would be like maybe an inch or two. The light blue shows you where it would be a couple inches. So central Illinois, Indiana, and then a good chunk here outside of New York City into northern New England. But our computer models don't agree. Our American computer model takes that heavier axis of snow from Washington, D.C. to Roanoke back through the central Appalachians, kind of just south of Interstate 70. So we have a little bit to figure out here. And no matter what, Hallie, I have fantastic news for everyone that's been itching and waiting in the Great Lakes and the Northeast. The end of next week. So after we get done with whatever happens early in the week, we are looking at, like 50s, 60s, maybe even 70s becoming widespread in the east. A lot of people are going to be running around happy, especially if we can melt some of this snow. And speaking of temperatures, I wasn't planning on showing you this, but I just noticed it right before we went on air. Today, we had our first 100-degree temperature of the year. It is currently 102 degrees in Laredo, Texas. That's only 1 degree away from their all-time February record high temperature. So, yeah, that warmer weather's coming, guys. A little bit too much already in South Texas.
I can't wait until July when we're going to be complaining about the heat wave that will inevitably be upon us. Bill Cairns.
We'll remember right now. We'll remember how badly we wanted it, and we won't complain, at least the first heat wave, maybe the second.
Appreciate you. Thanks, Bill. A lot more to get to here on the show, including some new comments just into us from the woman at the center of what is expected to be a landmark tech trial. How she says her addiction to social media affected her entire life. Plus, the very dramatic moment that a couple of skiers rescued somebody trapped under all of that snow. We've got that video coming up next. Some really high-profile moments at a high-profile trial today. The woman at the center of an unprecedented trial against Meta and Google is testifying now, attributing her social media use as a reason she started cutting herself when she was just 10 years old. This is the now 20-year-old woman arriving at court. We're not showing her face. She's only being identified in this trial by her initials KGM. She's suing Meta and Google for making their social media platforms addictive, she says. She's been testifying today now about how she developed depression, anxiety, body dysmorphia because of the time that she spent on Instagram and YouTube. She says it's something she still struggles with to this day. And this case, it is a big deal. It is potentially a landmark trial and a real bellwether on some of the broader backlash that some of these companies get for how they affect kids online. Meta and Google deny any wrongdoing. They say they've put measures in place to protect kids. And just today, Meta rolled out some new alerts for parents to let them know if their teen needs support. More on that in a second. I want to start with Steve Patterson here because, Steve, this is kind of the testimony that people who've been watching this trial have been looking for here. As she went through and laid out some of these features that she says made these apps basically addictive. You know, the likes, the sort of scroll that never stops, et cetera.
I'm glad you mentioned the lights, the sound effects, because they're describing it almost as a slot machine, right? A system that keeps particularly young minds locked in place. The algorithm, the advertising, the push alerts, the autoplay, all of this, the features themselves, they're saying, are at the heart of this case that led to her being hooked on Instagram, that led to that hooked being led to sort of these mental issues that she's grown up with and still is dealing with. And they did that by excruciating, painstakingly going through her social media history. These are her attorneys. I want to show you some of this on screen if we can. Started using YouTube at age 6, started using Instagram at age 9, 10 accounts on YouTube, 15 on Instagram, more than 200 posts. And that's before the age of 10 years old, Hallie. The autoplay kept her locked in. She says she would feel ugly. She would feel like she was worthless if she didn't get enough likes. The number of accounts, by the way, you may be asking, why does she have all of those accounts? It's so she could like her own posts and videos because her self-worth was so tied to those likes. They're still going through some of that, but now we are looking at the cross-examination and some of the attorneys for Meta who are going to go after her pretty hard. I want to talk about that in a little bit, but first we caught up with her attorney as she was coming in this morning about what kind of witness we should expect, especially in that cross-examination. Here's what he said. Listen to this. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have that sound. I can outline it for you, basically, which is that she is quite nervous, quite curt with her answers. And that bears out in what we've seen so far. There was a recess not too long ago, followed by her cross-examination. An attorney for Meta breaking down the case right now. What they're doing is going after her family history because she said in depositions and in court documents from years and years ago that there were instances of negligence and abuse, that she's the product of divorcee parents from the age of 3, that her dad would often disappear, that she would get in these crazy fights with her mother that had nothing to do with social media. And that's the point that the cross-examination wants to bear out, that the result of her, spiraling mental health, as she put it, is because of these outside factors, not a direct result of the social media use or pervasive social media use whatsoever, Hallie.
That's so interesting to hear about the strategies on both sides. Steve, do we expect this to go into tomorrow, too, then?
I wouldn't put it past the court at this point because she's been in that chair for so long. She's supposed to wrap up today, but keep in mind, there's Meta and there's also Google, YouTube. These are two different adjudicated cases that are happening at the same time. So they're both you're both listening to testimony from both cases, but they're going to be adjudicated separately, right? So both attorneys will have the chance to cross-examine her, and that will sort of test her will, so to speak, even further. Hallie.
Super quickly, Steve, because we mentioned it in the introduction there, Meta's rolling out this new thing to help parents, get alerted if they think their kid, how their kid is using Instagram, right? What's that about?
Yeah, basically what it is, it gives you an alert if they're looking up anything that relates to self-harm over and over again. It'll give you a push alert to the guardian. The guardian has to sign up for basically some sort of parental control. They will see that message, and then they will be able to do whatever they're able to do with that. A lot of advocates are saying that's because you're on trial and in trouble. But again, at least it's another sort of tool in the toolbox of parents to regulate this sort of thing. Hallie.
Steve Patterson, glad to have you there monitoring all of it and more to come potentially on this big trial. Appreciate it. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, an actor from Back to the Future, Crispin Glover, now being sued for allegedly holding a woman captive. Her lawsuit accuses him of grooming her and luring her to his house in 2024. There are also accusations of assault. Glover has not returned NBC News' request for comment, but his rep told TMZ that Glover denies the allegations, calling them baseless. Number 2, take a look at this very dramatic video. Skiers in Northern California go up. Somebody's trapped underneath the snow. Look at that. You see those skis sticking out there? Super scary, but these guys go in, they dig him out. They weren't sure how long he'd been kind of trapped under the snow, but it's so heavy he can't move. I mean, they're using their poles, their hands to dig him out. Amazingly, apparently that man's doing just fine. He managed to ski away. That's some scary stuff. Number 3, new video from Connecticut police shows former WWE executive Vince McMahon speeding down a highway and boom, ramming another car. This happened back in July. State police say McMahon was going like 100 miles an hour, caught on body cam video, telling a trooper he was trying to get to his granddaughter's birthday. He was cited for reckless driving. We're out to comment from McMahon. We haven't yet heard back. Number 4, NVIDIA's stock dipping 5% today, dragging the NASDAQ down with it. That's even though the company came out with better than expected earnings, like record profit for NVIDIA, which makes those chips that are in like everything, basically. Analysts say this is an example of investors' concerns about a possible AI bubble. Number 5, have you seen this from the Tampa airport? Posting online a call to ban wearing jammies at the airport on their flights. They reference a successful ban on Crocs as precedent. People had a lot of thoughts and feelings about this one. The airport put out a statement. They're like, it was basically a joke. Like, this was pretty playful. They say, wear whatever you want as long as you're comfortable. I don't know, man. Do we have big feelings on the pajama debate? It's like, we're all on a plane. Whatever you need to do to get through the day. Also tonight, much more to get to, including news out of both New York and Washington. Because here's the deal. It looks like in just the last hour or so, we've learned a Columbia student is out of ICE detention. I want to show you her here. I think you can see her under the sweatshirt being escorted out. Some of the statement by the student posted to her Instagram story says she's safe, she's okay, she's in complete shock. She's going to need a little time to process everything. That's after her arrest, which led to massive protests at Columbia University today. Look at that. You see all those people in the streets there. The school says it is relieved and thrilled after the school's president accused the feds of misrepresenting themselves to enter the building. Apparently, they said they were looking for a missing person. Her release apparently aided by the mayor, Zohran Mamdani, who called President Trump after an unexpected meeting at the White House that wasn't on either of the public schedules. Monica Alba joins us now. There's a lot on this one, right? So let's start to pull on some of these threads. As we just heard, the student is no longer detained, but we heard from DHS about all this too, right? What are they saying?
Exactly, Hallie, and it is notable because it was, according to Mayor Mamdani's office, his request that she be freed that resulted in that action. And then, again, according to his office, there were additional students that Mayor Mamdani raised with President Trump to see if it's possible that they could be released in the future as well. According to DHS, they did put out a statement on this, talking about this student specifically from Azerbaijan, saying that she was arrested because her student visa had been terminated in 2016. They say under the Obama administration for failing to attend classes. They say that the building manager and her roommate let officers into the apartment and that she has no pending appeals or applications with DHS. Again, it was Mayor Mamdani, Hallie, who asked the president to basically make a phone call to see that she be released. And we understand that that is exactly what happened after their meeting. And what's notable is that, this meeting wasn't on the schedule for either the president or for the mayor. The mayor put out a photo of their meeting, and then after he did that, he updated that and said, after our meeting, we actually got on the phone to talk about this Columbia student specifically. And so this was a kind of back-to-back update from the mayor's Twitter account, X account, in which he provided all of that information that was not shared before cameras, which is different than the visit last year where we did see reporters come in and both men took a bunch of different questions. Hallie.
I mean, let's say more about this, because this dynamic between the president of the United States and the mayor of New York City, right? Republican, Democrat, it's fascinating because the president legit seems to very much like Mamdani, who at one point, there was discussion of whether he was going to become like the big boogeyman of the Republican Party, basically.
Yeah, an unlikely pairing, but one that seems to keep coming back together. It was interesting, according to Mamdani's office, he requested this meeting with the president before the State of the Union. They set it up for today. And during the State of the Union, you actually had President Trump talking about Mamdani briefly, saying, nice guy, I don't really like all of his policies, but he got a little bit of a shout out there. Today, their meeting focused on housing, and that's why in that original photo that we put up there, you saw those front pages. According to a spokesperson for Mayor Mamdani, it was their office that mocked those up, and that the president was, quote, very enthusiastic about an idea for a new housing project in New York City that would contain about 12,000 units, we understand. They said that essentially this is something that they're going to continue talking about, that when they met back at the end of November last year, the president said, hey, why don't you come up with some big swing ideas for New York City, for, of course, the president's original hometown, and then come back and brief me on that. And it seems like that's what this meeting today was about. Hallie.
Monica Alba there for us on the North Lawn. Thanks, Mon. When we come back, why police in Georgia are warning parents to check their kids' lunch boxes. Plus, baseball's robot umps are finally here. A reality check on how it's going as spring training kicks off, and whether this is actually going to slow down games. That's next. Some drama tonight in a big battle in the media world that could affect the stuff you like to watch all the time, and what may be some last-minute maneuvering playing out here in Washington. So here's the deal. Paramount and Netflix both want to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, right? We knew that. Seemed like Netflix had it in the bag, but in the last hour or so, Warner Brothers says Paramount's offer is actually superior. Well, guess who's at the White House today? Perhaps coincidentally, the Netflix co-CEO. Well, guess who is at the State of the Union on Tuesday? The Paramount CEO. So what does that say, right? What does that mean? Could the president put his thumb on the scale on this once whatever deal gets reached goes to the Justice Department for approval? Remember, he told our Tom Yamas during that Super Bowl interview he's staying out of it.
I haven't been involved. I must say, I guess I'm considered to be a very strong president. I've been called by both sides. It's the two sides. But I've decided I shouldn't be involved. The Justice Department will handle it.
Let's get to our business correspondent, Hallie Canal. Okay, Hallie, big drama, big money on the line. This is all a big deal in the media world, the business world, and beyond. What is happening and where does it go?
Well, right now, if you talk to WBD, at least today, they prefer the Paramount deal. They came out just around an hour ago and said that deal is superior. Now, remember, earlier this week, Paramount upped its bid for the entire Warner Brothers Discovery Company from $30 a share to $31 a share. That values WBD at around $77 billion, excluding debt. If you compare that to the Netflix deal, Netflix just wants the streaming part of the business and the studio side. Their deal is just under $28 a share, also excluding debt. But they have 4 days to counter here, Hallie. So that means right up until 11:59 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, they could respond with possibly a better deal here.
No matter which way this goes, Hallie, right? And I know we've got these deadlines, et cetera. Even if the president is pretty hands-off on this, once they try to move this forward, there are going to be questions, and there are already, of these antitrust issues, right?
Oh, yeah. This is going to be under a close microscope from the DOJ, along with some of these states. And what's interesting is that this has really become a bipartisan issue. You have Democrats that have criticized a proposed Netflix-Warner Brothers Discovery merger, but you also have Republicans. Earlier this week, we saw 11 state Republican AGs basically warning that a Netflix-Warner deal would harm competition and raise prices for consumers. So no matter which bid ultimately wins here, this transaction is going to face a lot of scrutiny on Capitol Hill. So still a lot more to come here, Hallie. The credits aren't rolling yet on this drama.
For sure not. And I have a feeling we're talking about this again like 4 days from now. Hallie Canal, yes. Thank you. Appreciate that. NBC News covers hundreds of stories every day, and because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Northeast Bureau, New York City police say this is one of the people who threw snowballs at police officers this week, now facing an assault charge. You see that viral video. Here it is again. A few officers were cut on their faces and went to the hospital. The mayor initially had said it looked like kids having a snowball fight, which the police commissioner very strongly disagreed with. Out of our Southern Bureau, check this out. A collision between a car and an Amtrak train in North Carolina. Oh, man, you hate to see it. Amazingly, nobody was hurt, which is good. Now, you can see the crossing arm is down, but the driver tries to go around it. The car ends up smashed. The train's engine was damaged. The driver's facing several charges, including reckless driving. Also out of our Southern Bureau, a warning from a Georgia police department for parents. Make sure you're not packing alcohol in the old lunchbox. They posted this picture. Look at this. Chips, sure. Is that a sandwich maybe? A can of lemon drop martini, not juice. Police sort of jokingly said, maybe this is evidence the parent had a long night. Obviously, they say accidental. Just like triple check the can before you drop it in. Also tonight, now that some of the snow is melting, hooray, we're talking baseball. Spring training is up and running. With a question tonight, are robots ruining it? I don't have a take on it, right? I don't have a perspective, but these robot umps that are rolling out, apparently creating a couple of awkward moments already at spring training. Here's how this whole thing works. For the most part, human umpires are still calling balls and strikes, but within 2 seconds of a pitch, the batter or the catcher or pitcher can ask for a challenge if they think the ump blew it. Each team gets 2 challenges. Get them wrong, they're gone. If you keep getting them right, you can keep challenging. So, how's it working so far? Check this out from the Pirates-Red Sox game.
It is a strike, kind of right down the middle. Contreras thinks it missed. We get the look. And that's a ball. And and it is another successful challenge.
Caught a lot of the plate.
Ooh, 2 more successful challenges. I missed another 2 calls. Let me bring in Ryan Chandler, who's joining us now. Nobody wants an ump to miss a pitch. They're usually pretty good, the humans, at calling balls and strikes, right?
They are, and it's a very hard job to do. It's very complicated. You got to make split-second decisions, and they've been getting better at it consistently for the last 20 years. In fact, just last year, they set the best accuracy record to date in 2025, the record accuracy of almost 93% of pitches. And you can see that they've been increasingly slowly getting better ever since. You see, back in 2008, their inside the zone accuracy was only about 75%, meaning 1 in 4 balls inside the zone were called off. But you can understand how difficult this is. Look at what counts as a strike zone. I actually didn't know this, Hallie, and maybe that's my ignorance, but the strike zone changes for every player. The top and the bottom are based on the height of the batter. You got that 17-inch width, but then it shifts for every batter. So you can understand how they're not going to get this right all along. I think this whole debate really ties into the philosophy of baseball here, which is
that's right.
What degree of accuracy are we entitled to expect as fans? Is it 93 or does it need to be higher? That's where this comes in.
And baseball, you know, in many ways, of all the big sports, it's maybe the one where people love to talk about sort of the purest sport, right? It's baseball. It's like you're out, you know, it's the bats and the balls and everything else. And what's so interesting here, too, is that the MLB has put a lot of thought into trying to speed up dead time in the game. You got the pitch clock, et cetera. Is there any concern that these challenges that you can now call once the regular season starts, that's going to slow things down?
So the whole idea here is they want to keep it exciting, right? It had this reputation of a slow, boring game for many people. Games have gotten shorter. They've gotten a little faster paced. And there is not a concern that this new system is going to slow things down because batters only have 2 seconds to challenge a play. And the way that we've heard it described is it could actually add an exciting new layer to the game. Think about like in the NFL when you have a close call that's challenged. Everybody's looking for those minutes about whether his foot was in. Did he catch the ball? It can be a fun part of the game. We talked to a writer with The Athletic who writes about baseball. This is how he described it.
People get into it. They cheer, they boo, they clap if the umpire got it right. Like, it is actually a fun little thing that would go away if they were doing it 50 times a game. But if you're only doing it 3 or 4 times a game, it is fun. Why not make it a part of the product? I'm completely on board with it.
Wait, Ryan,
I know the baseball fans in my life are certainly in support of this, Hallie. Yep.
I think that's such an interesting perspective here, right? Because it is like, I love that. That's so interesting. And this is rolling out. We'll see it in the regular season when it starts soon, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be an exciting season.
Ryan Chandler, will you watch every game and report back to us all season long?
If it's the Astros, I will. Yes, I will.
Okay, very good. Ryan Chandler, appreciate you. Thank you. Coming up, more news to get to here in the show, including why one family out in Washington state says they are lucky to be alive tonight. We'll show you what happened outside their home while they were sleeping next. Some breaking news out of Chappaqua, where former First Lady Hillary Clinton, the former Secretary of State, is approaching the cameras after that hours-long deposition by the House Oversight Committee in the Epstein investigation today. Here she comes. Let's listen in.
Well, I have just finished testifying. I answered every one of their questions as fully as I could, based on what I knew. And what I knew is what I said in my statement this morning. I never met Jeffrey Epstein, never had any connection or communication with him. I knew Ghislaine Maxwell casually as an acquaintance. But whatever they asked me, I did my very best to respond. It was disappointing that they refused to hold a public hearing, so I wouldn't have to be out here characterizing it for you. You could have seen it for yourself. We had asked for that. We think it would have been better for the committee and its efforts to gather whatever information they are seeking. We had a bit of a challenge in the beginning because we had agreed upon rules based on the fact it was going to be a closed hearing at their demand, and one of the members violated that rule, which was very upsetting because it suggested that they might violate other of our agreements. So we had to cease the hearing for a period of time until we could get assurances that no rules would be broken going forward, and we returned to answer questions repetitively, literally over and over again. I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. I never went to his island. I never went to his homes. I never went to his offices. So it's on the record numerous times. It then got, at the end, quite unusual because I started being asked about UFOs and a series of questions about Pizzagate, one of the most vile, bogus conspiracy theories that was propagated on the internet, that was serving as the basis of a member's questions to me. So I can only say that the best exchange that I had came at the very end when, contrary to every other deposition they have taken, no Republican member asked any questions about Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell to anyone else they have deposed. And in fact, the Republican members didn't even show up for the deposition of Les Wexner. And when I said that, I had to point out that the only questions that any Republican member asked of any of the people they deposed was of former Attorney General Bill Barr when Chairman Comer asked him about the allegations, in his view, about Russia's involvement in my election in 2016. So at the very end of this hearing, after I made that point, I want to commend Chairman Comer for raising a series of significant questions that I responded to about the nature of the investigation and the areas that I thought should be explored. So I appreciated that. I want to see the truth come out. So that was a reassuring way to end a very long, repetitive deposition.
Madam Secretary, you spoke in your opening remarks about how heartbroken you have been for the Epstein survivors as these files have come out. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you have processed and reacted to the fact that the former president, your husband, Bill Clinton, is referenced in the Epstein files numerous times, including in some photos featuring women, and how have you been personally preparing for the deposition that is coming tomorrow? Are you 100% confident that there isn't anything that the former president knows about Epstein's crimes?
I am, and I think the chronology of the connection that he had with Epstein ended several years before anything about Epstein's criminal activities came to light, and that he was charged and sadly given a sweetheart deal, which, as I said in my statement, had that not happened, perhaps his predatory behavior could have been stopped earlier. But I think it is fair to say that the vast majority of people who had contact with him before his criminal pleas in 2008 were like most people. They did not know what he was doing. And I think that that is exactly what my husband will testify to tomorrow.
Madam Secretary, can I ask? Madam Secretary, why was Ghislaine Maxwell? Do you believe this was a fair hearing
And do you still want to testify publicly, even though you gave this deposition?
Oh, I'm not going to do it again. You know, they had a chance to do it in public, and I wish they had done it in public. And I think they're making the wrong decision, avoiding doing it in public. I thought it was very repetitive. I thought that they asked literally the same questions over and over again, which didn't seem to me to be very productive. And then, as I said, toward the end, you know, there were other questions that were totally off subject. So if they are going to fulfill their responsibilities to literally investigate the investigations, which is what they originally said was the scope of their work, I think they could have spent the day more productively.
Madam Secretary, can I ask? Yeah, James Matthews from Sky News. Can I ask, why was Ghislaine Maxwell invited to your daughter Chelsea Clinton's wedding in 2010? She'd already been mentioned in a civil lawsuit by Virginia Giuffre before that. Jeffrey Epstein had already been convicted before that.
She came as the +1, the guest of someone who was invited.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
What message does it say that
I don't know when the video will be out. I don't know when the transcript will be out. We've asked that they be out as quickly as possible, and then you can see everything. Thank you.
So a really memorable moment there in Chappaqua, New York. You saw the former First Lady, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton come out after hours of deposition, hours of questioning from the House Oversight Committee, from Republicans and Democrats. You saw it there, come out of the building, this art center where this questioning is happening. It's going to be her husband's turn, the former president, tomorrow. And the former First Lady there going through a number of things, repeatedly talking about how repetitive these interviews were. She said, I don't know how many times I had to say that I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. She said she made that very clear to the committee. She seemed to be frustrated with some of the questions that she got that were, as she said, off topic about UFOs. For example, she mentioned about the conspiracy theory of Pizzagate. She did commend the chairman, the Republican chairman of the Oversight Committee, for at the end there coming back. This isn't live, by the way. We're just in the screen re-rolling sort of what she said video-wise, just so you know we're not missing anything. She talked about how she commended Chairman Comer there for coming back to some what she described as relevant questions toward the end. But all of it, you know, you heard the Sky News reporter there at the end ask about this invitation. Apparently, you know, Ghislaine Maxwell at the wedding of Chelsea Clinton, and you heard the secretary there talk about how she was a +1, apparently, of somebody who was invited. As we get to the top of the hour here on NBC News Now, I want to bring back our chief Capitol Hill correspondent, Ryan Nobles, who has been covering this from the jump. A dramatic day of depositions, apparently, just given the fact that it is the former First Lady, the former Secretary of State that was being questioned by Congress in this manner by the Oversight Committee. And Ryan, she again said there she wished it had been public. She would rather have done this publicly in front of everybody. That was the Clintons' desire. This happened behind closed doors, and just fascinating to see her come out there and take some questions from reporters.
Yeah, it's fascinating on a number of levels, Hallie, when you take into account that this is not something that Hillary Clinton does on a regular basis. You'd have to look back quite a ways to find a period of time where she just came out and took questions from a large gaggle of reporters in a fashion just like this. She clearly wanted to make a statement about the hours and hours that she spent inside of that room, and specifically make the point that she did not know Jeffrey Epstein, had a very casual relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell, and knew nothing of her crimes, and of their crimes, I should say. And she made the point that they asked a number of repetitive questions, the same questions over and over again during the period of time that she was in there. And then she also brought up at the end of the deposition that she was asked questions about UFOs and about the Pizzagate conspiracy theory that was floating around the end of her tenure in public life, and how ridiculous that was. And she pointed out what a terrible and awful conspiracy theory was that damaged a lot of people's lives. And so this was not something that we expected. It was interesting throughout the day. Her team never told us definitively that she wouldn't come out and talk to the cameras, but it was not something that we had planned to take place or to happen. So it was clear that she wanted to send a message about her experience inside that room, especially because Republicans had been given the opportunity to do that already. And she wanted to make sure, at least before this video comes out, that her interpretation of that experience. And then the other thing I should point out that was perhaps one of the biggest takeaways after the fact was she was asked, would she now be willing to sit for a public hearing, which is what she and her husband had initially agreed to. And she said she didn't need to do that she'd already answered all the questions. So we should not expect a public hearing from Hillary Clinton in the very near future.
Ryan, she also was asked about her husband, and obviously we're looking ahead now. I know you're staying in Chappaqua because former President Bill Clinton will be questioned by this committee tomorrow. Same location. The former secretary has suggested it may go even longer, but she was asked if she's confident that her husband did not know anything about Epstein's crimes, and she said she is confident about that, Ryan.
Yeah, she was fairly definitive in the answer to that question, Hallie. She did not equivocate on it. She explained her rationale behind why she thinks that there is no there, if you will. She talked about the chronology of her husband's interactions with Jeffrey Epstein. And she also pointed to the fact that there were a number of prominent people that knew and interacted with him before the 2008 indictment and an ultimate conviction in which they all claimed to not have known much about his crimes. Now, is that going to be enough for Republicans on this committee that are going to ask him very specific questions under oath tomorrow? I doubt it. But there's no doubt that Hillary Clinton is putting herself out there to a certain extent on her husband's behalf in stating very publicly that she does not believe that he had any sort of direct connection with Jeffrey Epstein in any sort of negative or nefarious way. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't value to Bill Clinton answering questions tomorrow. What committee Republicans told us was that there were a number of questions that Hillary Clinton answered during this deposition in which she deferred and said, my husband may know the answer to that question, but I don't know the answer to that question, particularly the financial structure of the Clinton Global Initiative, their fundraising efforts, any funds that may have flowed from Epstein and Maxwell as a result of that. So there's still going to be questions to ask even beyond, and Republicans have said this. They've never and have not accused Bill Clinton of any wrongdoing. That doesn't mean that there isn't the possibility that he could provide some level of connective tissue between some of the different investigative pursuits that are involved in this Epstein probe, Hallie.
Ryan, before I let you go, the precedent piece of this, you have the Democrats now suggesting that if you brought in now, the former Secretary of State, the former president tomorrow, that President Trump should be able to be brought in front of the committee too. And then I also, it's possible we could see video from this. Maybe, Ryan, if past is any precedent for the committee as of last week, we could see video of this tomorrow, maybe just in a matter of hours.
Yeah, that is a real possibility. The committee in the past has been able to turn these videos around in less than 24 hours. The Democrats on the committee are asking that. Hillary Clinton wants it to come out as soon as possible. Republicans have said that they will turn it around as quick as possible. So that is certainly a real possibility. What's interesting today, though, Hallie, Democrats continue to say that they believe that this sets the precedent for Donald Trump to be called forward. And James Comer, the chair of the committee, once again was pretty definitive in his belief that that Trump is not necessary to be a part of it. And then another Republican on the panel, Anna Paulina Luna of Florida, she brought up the argument that in the conversations that they've had with survivors, they have, as she described it, exonerated President Trump. Therefore, they don't need to talk to him. I don't know if the small group of survivors that they talk to, not to downplay their experience, which is very important, but they represent a pretty small percentage of the overall volume of people that were caught up in the Epstein scandal. I don't know if that's enough to disqualify or rule out President Trump as someone that could be a necessary cog in the wheel of trying to put together this investigative pursuit. But that is the explanation Republicans are giving, that and that Trump has answered a bunch of questions from reporters, none of which have been under oath. But what it demonstrates more than anything, Hallie, is that as long as Republicans are in charge of this committee, it's very unlikely President Trump is ever called to answer questions about Jeffrey Epstein.
And we should note that President Trump nor the Clintons have been charged with any wrongdoing, of course, related to the connection with Epstein. Ryan Nobles, really grateful to you. A lot to juggle in the last couple of minutes there. Appreciate your reporting. Appreciate you being there. We'll talk again, I know, tomorrow. Got to get to some other breaking news on a story that we've been closely following, because in just the last few minutes, this is a big battle that's in the media world, the business world, but it could affect the stuff you like to watch. Netflix, we've just found out it's not raising its offer to try to get Warner Brothers Discovery after Paramount did the same. Remember, Paramount and Netflix both want to buy Warner Brothers. It seemed like Netflix was the front runner until about 10 minutes ago. Okay, Paramount came out. Apparently, its offer was, quote unquote, superior. All of it as there's been this political backdrop, too. Let me get to our business correspondent, Hallie Canal. What in the heck is happening, Hallie? Because this all developed in like the last 10 minutes. Paramount and Netflix had been locked in what seemed like it could have been a protracted battle to try to buy, right, Warner Brothers Discovery. Does this mean if Netflix is pulling out, is it over? Is it a done deal? Is WBD Paramount's?
It seems like it at this point. Netflix did have 4 days to counter with a superior deal. And just to back up here, the sweetened Paramount deal valued Warner Brothers Discovery at around $77 billion minus debt. So just around $31 a share. This was for the whole company. Netflix just wanted the studio and streaming side. Their offer was just under $28 a share. That gave WBD an equity valuation of around $72 billion. Now, I want to read a brief statement here from Netflix. They said, quote, "The transaction we negotiated would have created shareholder value with a clear path to regulatory approval. However, we've always been disciplined, and at the price required to match Paramount Skydance's latest offer, the deal is no longer financially attractive. So we are declining to match the Paramount Skydance bid." Now, I did speak with some prominent WBD shareholders who told me that Netflix would have to come in at around $32 a share in order to end this. And Netflix just didn't want to do that. They have said in the past that they are going to be disciplined. However, I want to make it clear, they wanted this. Co-CEO Ted Sarandos has been on a media blitz. He's been on multiple networks advocating for this deal. He appeared before the Senate saying that this deal would be pro-consumer, and they've invested significant capital already in pursuit of this deal. So this is something that they wanted. It is interesting to see them back down so quickly. But of course, you have to remember here, Hallie, that no matter where this goes, shareholders still have to vote on this deal. That happens on March 20th. And then, of course, there's that antitrust question with the DOJ. The DOJ and ultimately President Trump is going to have to approve this.
Well, that's what's so interesting. And President Trump told our own Tom Yamas, of course, that he was going to stay out of this. But we've seen this sort of interesting Washington overlay just today. The Netflix co-CEO, Ted Sarandos, was at the White House 2 days ago. David Ellison, the Paramount CEO, was at the State of the Union when the president was speaking. So there's a lot of like D.C. drama, too.
A lot of D.C. drama. That has also been a really interesting element here, especially because this has been a bipartisan effort on the Hill, really targeting this proposed Netflix WBD merger. It's going to be interesting to see if Paramount faces those same kinds of questions, those same kinds of inquiries. You would assume so. But yeah, I mean, this has just been a crazy ride over the past few months. This really escalated over the past few weeks, and especially within the past hour. Hallie, I was just on the show not too long ago, and you said we'll be talking about this in the coming days. And look, 10 minutes later, here we are.
So then last question for you, just before I let you go. From a person who likes to watch TV's perspective, right? Like if you're a consumer, you're just a regular person who watches the stuff that WBD, that Paramount puts out, do we know what kind of, if this all goes through, and again, a lot of ifs, as you've laid out, there's a long road ahead, but would it change the experience for the regular person who's looking to watch stuff?
That's something we're going to have to get more clarity on in the days ahead. Now, with the Netflix deal, they did say they were going to keep the platforms separate and also said they would offer a bundled offering. And ultimately, that would be good for the consumer because that bundled offering would be cheaper. We'll have to hear what David Ellison plans to do. Do they plan to integrate the two streaming platforms, keep them separate like Netflix was going to do? These are all question marks that regulators are going to have, and ultimately consumers as well, because like you said, this does affect the content that we watch on a daily basis.
Hallie Canal, thank you very much for that. Lots to follow. Appreciate that. And by the way, it is like the witching hour for breaking news, apparently, because we have more of it as it relates to big tech and the Pentagon. We've been following this story about Anthropic, right? Huge AI company. Well, in literally the last 15 minutes, the head of Anthropic says it cannot agree to the Pentagon's demands so that the Defense Department can use Claude, its AI program. The CEO says these demands related to surveillance and to autonomous weapons. And in a statement, he says it's inherently contradictory. They cannot, in good conscience, agree to this stuff. Let me bring in our national security correspondent, Gordon Lubold, who's joining us now. Okay, breakdown. What do we know? What did the defense secretary ask of Anthropic?
Right. So we have ourselves a little bit of a standoff. So there was a kind of a contentious meeting on Tuesday at the Pentagon where the Secretary of Defense told the head of Anthropic that either let us use your model, your system,
Claude, right?
Claude, for legal purposes, or else. And the or else was we will either compel you to use it, compel you to let us use it, or we will do something to kind of make it very hard for Anthropic to do any other work elsewhere in the government. So it was kind of like this kind of dual, ultimatum, and then gave the company until 5:01 p.m. tomorrow to come up with an answer. And so
we have the answer.
We have the answer.
So when the Anthropic CEO talks about surveillance and autonomous weapons, talk through the issues there, because this is kind of controversial.
Right. So this is a company that is reasonably well known for trying to make to ensure that AI is used safely, and it has a healthy, good reputation on that front. But it does stuff that is very important to the Pentagon, is very important to users, and has a little bit of a, I don't want to say a monopoly, but it has the upper hand when it comes to this. So we're seeing that the Pentagon is eyeing this technology and says it wants to use it for any number of purposes, again, legal purposes.
Right.
And we saw this in the context of Venezuela, where the U.S. maintains all the operations there, and in the capture of the president of Venezuela was all legal, but the company is concerned about its, essentially giving the Pentagon license to use it however it feels.
Carte blanche, yeah. And this autonomous weapons thing is interesting because I'm hoping you can give us a bit of a reality check here, because it seemed like some of the concern around this would be like this question. Could AI be used to launch some kind of a deadly strike?
Right. So there are built-in guardrails, they like to use the word guardrails and restrictions in this model, and so what the and that's part of the reputation of the company or whatever. But potentially, this model could be used in a missile to counter, say, an inbound intercontinental ballistic missile headed for the U.S. in a kind of hypothetical scenario from an adversary like Russia. And I think what the company is trying to say is, if push comes to shove, they can lift these restrictions, these guardrails. The Pentagon says that's kind of a ridiculous contention because there's not enough time in an actual real life scenario. So now we've got this situation. I don't know how the Pentagon, we don't know yet what the Pentagon is responding to this news.
No, I mean, that's why. And what's do we have the dollar figure on the contract here? Do we know?
I don't have a dollar figure.
Okay.
It's a very expensive program because it's just so well sought after in the Pentagon. So it's kind of, again, it's Pentagon, the company really has the upper hand on some level because of the unique nature of their model. But we'll see what comes back from the Pentagon.
But Gordon, it could get kind of complicated for the Pentagon to rip Claude out of its systems, right?
That's right. So they'd have to go and go out of their way to extract all these models, and I think that's not what they really want to do. This may be Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's way of playing tough and then backing himself into a corner that then he's going to have to figure out his way out of.
Well, potentially $200 million contract for Anthropic. It's fascinating. As soon as you get the Pentagon response, I know you'll be sprinting back to set. Gordon, thank you so much. A lot of, as we said, developing news tonight. Even more now on a story that we brought you just about 60 minutes ago as it relates to Cuba. A couple of U.S. officials tell NBC News there were Americans on that boat. That had been a question mark, but there were citizens on this boat that ended up in a shootout with Cuban officials. The Cubans say this turned deadly. 4 people were killed. We're now learning from those U.S. officials that at least one of those people was a U.S. citizen. The Cuban government has just put out a new statement saying it's willing to exchange information with the U.S. on this, saying that the U.S. has shown it's willing to cooperate. Let me bring in Gabe Gutierrez, who's up at the White House here. And Gabe, again, we called it the witching hour. In the last, 90 seconds, I'm being told by our team, you're learning more about the medical care one of these people is getting?
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. Look, U.S. officials tell NBC News that one of those people being detained in Cuba right now who's recovering from injuries during this incident is being cared for at a hospital in Cuba. Now, we do know that U.S. officials were trying to speak with these detainees, and from what we understand, you just saw that statement from the Cuban government this afternoon that they are willing to share information with the U.S. as part of this ongoing investigation. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says that he doesn't, he's skeptical, at least at this point, of the information provided by the Cuban government. So the U.S. wants to conduct its own independent investigation and sort out the facts here. But you mentioned that breaking news. Yes, we are learning from two U.S. officials who confirm that there were American citizens on that boat. One of those citizens, at least one, was among those killed, and the other one is recovering after being injured. Now, there was also one on a K-1 visa, who was allowed to enter the U.S. That's a type of visa that you get to marry a U.S. citizen. So we're still trying to find out more details about what the motivation for these men who were on this boat. Two sources close to one of the detainees says that at least some of the men on that boat were part of an anti-Castro group that opposed the Cuban government. So again, still a lot of unanswered questions here. The U.S. is investigating. No comment today from the Department of Homeland Security, from the White House, or the CIA, but we are learning those breaking details on the legal status of those men on that boat from two U.S. officials, Hallie.
Gabe, there's a lot of incoming here, and I think it's important to, just as we do a big picture, sort of step back for a second here. The backdrop of the pressure campaign as it relates to oil that the Trump administration has been pushing now on Cuba and a growing humanitarian crisis there.
Yeah, look, that's right, and we're still trying to sort out, how exactly this is related to that. Is that the timing of this incident, does it have anything to do with the ramped-up pressure that the Trump administration has been placing on Cuba? We don't know the specifics on that just yet, but as you said, over the last several weeks, there has been this increased pressure from the president on Cuban officials. He has called Cuba a failed state, although he really hasn't said that that the U.S. would look for regime change here. He said that this country appears to be looking to fall on its own. This comes, of course, just weeks after the capture of Venezuela's authoritarian leader, Nicolas Maduro. Since then, the U.S. has virtually blocked all oil shipments to Cuba. There have been fuel shortages across much of the island, and so it's an increasingly dire situation in Cuba. Now, again, we just heard from Cuba, the Cuban regime this afternoon. They are saying they're willing to share information with the U.S., as I said, but they are accusing the men on that boat of essentially coming to the country to infiltrate the country and unleash terrorism. So some serious accusations there. Again, the U.S. government trying to sort all that out.
Gabe Gutierrez live for us there at the White House North Lawn. Gabe, plenty to follow. Thank you. Overseas tonight, police in Iran more developing there, carrying out mass arrests of people they think are a threat to the regime. That's after that huge crackdown against anti-government protests that broke out some weeks ago across the country when activist groups say more than 7,000 people were killed. We're seeing some new clashes at universities there as Iran is very much in the news this week especially, and you know why. It's because the President Trump, has threatened the possibility of military action against Iran. So you got the region bracing for a strike and talks happening today with Iran and the U.S. in negotiations to try to avert another war. That's what you're looking at there. I want to bring in Keir Simmons for the latest on all of it. I mean, you pick where you want to start. The arrests, the talks, the tensions. This is a region on edge for a lot of reasons.
It sure is. Let's start with the talks. No breakthrough, Hallie. Now, two U.S. officials tell NBC News that the talks were positive. The Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi saying it's been the most serious talks so far, saying we finished the day after significant progress in the negotiation between the United States and Iran and will resume soon after consultation in our respective capitals. The mediator is suggesting that those talks might actually even resume next week. But that being said, the USS Ford aircraft carrier left Crete today on its way to the eastern Mediterranean. So it is soon going to be joining the other aircraft carrier, the Lincoln, in this region. President Trump has an enormous amount of firepower. We've said it before. It remains the case. And it only takes for him to decide to strike Iran. And frankly, that will happen. So you've got two sides that don't trust each other and are threatening each other, even while these negotiations are happening, and the protests too, Hallie.
So talk about those protests. Talk about these threats, these mass arrests, et cetera, Keir, and you know, put it contextually, if you will, on the sort of sliding scale of what we've seen in Iran the last 6 months or so.
Oh, yeah, it's not like last month, but it is significant. The mourning period, the period of mourning has ended. And traditionally in Iran, the protests do reignite at that point. You remember how the Iranian regime crushed those protests. And so it's not surprising that we're not seeing them on the same scale. I mean, the question is whether strikes by the Trump administration would help the protesters, if you like. And it is a big question because, just for context, the risks are enormous too, that, for example, if it is regime change, but of course from a distance, not boots on the ground, will leadership in Iran be replaced by more hardline leadership? Could Iran as a country even collapse, and could different ethnic groups look for their own opportunity to run their own regions, their own states, if you like? There are multiple ethnic groups in Iran. So that's the kind of thing that President Trump is weighing up as he thinks about whether to strike Iran at this stage, Hallie.
Keir Simmons covering all of it for us tonight. Keir, thank you as always. Also tonight, this airplane stowaway, now infamous stowaway, has stowed away again. You're not going to believe this. Look at this video that allegedly shows Svetlana Dali sneaking onto a flight from Newark to Milan. Look at that. Just bloop, right in. Right through the agent without scanning a ticket. Sources familiar tell us this is her sitting on that United Airlines flight where the crew apparently didn't notice her until the plane was already over the Atlantic. The airline says they're looking into it, but remember, she was sentenced to a few months in prison for doing basically the same thing back in 2024. Look at this. We're showing you a side-by-side. On the left, that was the prior incident where she walks right past agents and onto a Delta flight from New York to Paris. On the right, that's the recent thing from this week. Let me bring in Tom Costello, who's covering this one for us. There is an element of like, whoa, holy cow to this, but also a security element. How is it, how, with all of the security apparatus that's in place when you get on flights, how did this happen again?
How did it happen again? Has she done it before and been successful, by the way?
That's a good point.
How many other people have been successful? Why in the world is there this gaping, what appears to be a gaping security lapse with the TSA? How did she get past the ID check at TSA? And then how does she jump right past the gate agents there at United Airlines? That's almost precisely what she did with the Delta Airlines case in 2024. And we don't know whether she's done it other times as well. I talked to an aviation security expert who said, listen, this is now posing a serious security challenge and a threat, and we need answers. Take a listen.
If they're able to bypass the screening process somehow, that's even more of a risk, which is what really needs to be assessed here. Some layers can fail, but other layers are designed to catch that. If she's bypassing those layers, then that's a serious issue beyond how serious it is now.
Yeah, Jeff Price making the point, you know, she may just kind of appear like a typical grandma and she slides right through because people don't expect that would be a terrorist. But listen, if she could do it, then couldn't somebody from Al-Qaeda or ISIS? Take a look at her history here of doing this. Again, these are the cases that we actually know about. She, in fact, had this Delta Airlines flight that we talked about, New York to Paris. She was caught and then sent back, as you know, back to New York. She got through security at Bradley International by hiding among passengers, and then she was in a bathroom in Miami in the arrival zone without a valid ticket. How did she end up there? So now she's going to come back, and she will be certainly found to have violated the terms of her release, because she essentially was given time served for the event back in 2024. And now she's also going to probably have to face time in Italy, or for a violation of going to Italy. But guess what? She's MIA right now. She got off the plane in Milan. She wanted asylum, according to our sources, and disappeared. So we don't know where she is.
But can I ask you, too, would she have already been on a no-fly list?
But she didn't have an ID. So, yeah, she probably was on a no-fly list, but she shows up without an ID and a boarding pass, and she manages to get on board the plane.
Nothing from TSA, no statements from...
TSA is not commenting. Okay. United Airlines says it's investigating, it's cooperating with this investigation. But like I said, if she could do it, wow, how many others have already done it?
Ooh, Tom Costello, what an interesting story. Thank you so much. In just the last hour, we're also learning investigators have gotten some 5,000 to 10,000 hours of video in the case of Nancy Guthrie, her disappearance now just about 4 weeks ago. According to an FBI official, the collection, the review, the analysis of all that video is one of the key parts of this investigation. They say because each video has to be watched in real time. It comes as investigators are getting ready to hand Guthrie's home back over to the family, according to 2 federal law enforcement sources. As we are now in what is an agonizing 4th week of this search, the FBI tip line has gotten some 23,000 calls since Nancy Guthrie was taken from her home on February 1st, according to a senior official familiar with the investigation. You've seen Savannah, our dear friend, our colleague, her family putting out these calls to let folks know. They say they're holding out hope. If they say, if you know anything, call it in. Here's that tip line once again, 1-800-CALL-FBI. I want to bring in our Jesse Kirsch, who's on the ground for us in Tucson. We've heard it from officials. All it takes is one tip to change this whole case if somebody thinks they know something.
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. And to be clear, for people who are out there watching this, if someone knows something and is worried about themselves getting in trouble, you can submit a tip anonymously. There are multiple ways to do it. You can do it through the FBI's website. You can do it through an organization known as Crime Stoppers. And there's a lot of money up for grabs right now. The hope is that the more than $1 million that is now being offered between what the Guthrie family is offering and the FBI and others, the hope is that there's enough incentive out there for someone to come forward. And here's a little bit more from a former FBI agent about how someone can go about submitting information without giving up their identity.
There's no ID. There's nobody there. It's completely anonymous, depersonalized, so you can just pick up your reward money, and that's the end of it. There's no concern if you have a criminal record, if you're undocumented. If you have a tip in this case, that's what they want most.
So again, the first and foremost thing they're looking for is information that will lead to Nancy Guthrie. And the hope is that there is enough incentive out there right now. As you mentioned, we are now in week 4. It is day 26 in the search for Savannah's mother. There continue to be flowers outside of her home this week showing support from this community. We know there's support stretching well beyond the Tucson area as well. And so many people hoping that Nancy will be able to come home safely, Hallie. Again, we're now in the 4th week in this search. The agony for that family continuing.
And so many of us, and I know you, thinking of Savannah, thinking of our dear friend and colleague and her family. Jesse Kirsch, appreciate you. Thank you very much. Got a lot more to get into here on the show, including coming up some pretty scary moments after a hippo flips a boat. We'll tell you what's going on here. Plus, the very dramatic moment that 2 skiers rescued somebody trapped under a whole bunch of snow. We'll tell you how it happened next. So the woman at the center of an unprecedented, potentially landmark trial against Meta and Google just wrapped up her testimony for the day, saying social media was one of the reasons she started self-harming when she was just 10 years old. This is the now 20-year-old woman arriving at court. We're only showing her feet because she's only being identified by her initials KGM in court. She's suing Meta and Google for making their social media platforms, she says, addictive. She's been testifying about how she developed depression, anxiety, and body dysmorphia because of how much time she spent on Instagram and YouTube. She says it's something she still struggles with to this day. The case, potentially a bellwether of the broader backlash social media companies have been getting for how they affect kids. Meta and Google deny any wrongdoing. They say they've measures in place to protect kids. Just today, Meta announced some new alerts for parents to let them know if their teen needs some support. I want to bring in Steve Patterson now. And Steve, what's been interesting here is we've seen this very critical testimony in this really high-profile case, and then the cross-examination here from attorneys from Meta and Google. Can you walk us through some of the things that stand out to you today?
Yeah, first of all, the testimony from the plaintiff, this is a 20-year-old, alleges that she started getting on social media from age 9 and was doing things like creating 10 YouTube accounts, 15 Instagram accounts, just so she could like her own posts because, again, her mental state was so tied to the amount of likes that she got, that she was using filters at age 9 to make herself look prettier because she felt like she was not pretty. And social media had instilled those feelings in her, leading to, as you mentioned, the depression, the body dysmorphia, the anxiety, all of that, issues that she is still dealing with today. The cross-examination, though, fascinating. We've heard from Meta's attorney. She's been really grilled with that. Part of what happens when you're on one of these big trials is that they really lay your life bare, and that's what we've seen. So they've gone after the relationship with her mother, with her father, with her scholastic ability, with bullies at school, all of this trying to sort of lump into the mental health that she was experiencing, because their argument is that it was not necessarily the amount of time she was spending on social media that led to those mental health issues. It was all of these outside factors. Maybe social media was a contributing factor, but that's not the question we're asking. We are asking, is this directly correlated to how you were feeling at the time and led to these sort of lifelong mental health experiences? And not only is this happening with Meta, but then there will be the redirect off of Meta, and then Google will go, and then the redirect off of Google. You asked me last hour if there was any chance this could wrap up today. Obviously, that is not happening. It may not be even tomorrow with the amount that she has to go through. And in talking to her attorneys, this is a pretty shy person. This is a person that doesn't necessarily, thrive in the spotlight, for instance. So there's some question as to how her will can hold up to this amount of questioning, because they are combing through basically everything that they possibly can. There are exhibits literally of some of her posts, of some of her text messages about her parents and about her family life. How much of this can she withstand? That's sort of the question before there is now another attorney asking these really hard questions. It's been really fascinating to watch, Hallie, and a big bellwether for the rest of the country, because there are about 1,600 of these cases that are still pending and out there. This will determine a lot of what happens next.
We're going to be watching this to see how it goes tomorrow, too. Steve Patterson, thank you.
Yep.
Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, the actor from Back to the Future, one of them, Crispin Glover, being sued for allegedly holding a woman captive. Her lawsuit accuses him of grooming her and luring her to his house in 2024. There are also accusations of assault. Glover has not returned NBC's request for comment, but his rep told TMZ Glover denies the allegations, calling them baseless. Number 2, check out this close call caught on camera in South Africa. A hippo jumping out of the water, flipping that boat, knocking a worker right into the water. That is super scary looking. Fortunately, everybody involved is okay. Number 3, check this out. Skiers in Northern California ended up rescuing somebody who got trapped underneath a bunch of snow. So watch this. Look, the skis are sticking out there. I mean, the person's basically, sideways, upside down, but either way, under that heavy snow. These 2 skiers come, they start digging him out frantically, amazingly. They weren't sure how long he'd been trapped, but listen to this. That person just skied away. It was apparently totally fine, at least physically. Number 4, an update to a story we've been following. A federal judge is rejecting a request to block President Trump's plans to build a ballroom over the demolished east wing of the White House. Remember, President Trump announced the construction last summer. It's got a price tag of about $400 million. So remember, it's a rejection of the request to block the White House on that one. Number 5, Tampa International Airport causing have you seen this from Tampa? They posted online today saying, no more pajamas, no more jammies at the airport. It references this ban on Crocs that it kind of says was successful. No more Crocs either. Guys, people were very upset. People had a lot of feelings about this. The airport had to say, we're kidding. They put out a statement saying, we're being playful. It's a joke. And that they encourage passengers to travel comfortably. In the last hour or so, we're learning that a Columbia University student is now out of ICE detention. She posted to her Instagram story that she is now safe, okay, but in complete shock, and is going to need a little time to process everything. The arrest leading to some massive protests at Columbia today. You see all those people there. The school says it is relieved and thrilled after its president accused federal agents of misrepresenting themselves to enter the building, saying they were looking for a missing person. Her release apparently helped along by New York City Mayor Mamdani, who called President Trump after an unexpected meeting at the White House that was not on either of their public schedules. There's a lot on this one, right? So let's start to pull on some of these threads. As we just heard, the student is no longer detained, but we heard from DHS about all this too, right? What are they saying?
Exactly, Hallie, and it is notable because it was, according to Mayor Mamdani's office, his request that she be freed that resulted in that action. And then, again, according to his office, there were additional students that Mayor Mamdani raised with President Trump to see if it's possible that they could be released in the future as well. According to DHS, they did put out a statement on this, talking about this student specifically from Azerbaijan, saying that she was arrested because her student visa had been terminated in 2016. They say under the Obama administration for failing to attend classes. They say that the building manager and her roommate let officers into the apartment and that she has no pending appeals or applications with DHS. Again, it was Mayor Mamdani, Hallie, who asked the president to basically make a phone call to see that she be released. And we understand that that is exactly what happened after their meeting. And what's notable is that, yeah, this meeting wasn't on the schedule for either the president or for the mayor. The mayor put out a photo of their meeting, and then after he did that, he updated that and said, after our meeting, we actually got on the phone to talk about this Columbia student specifically. And so this was a kind of back-to-back update from the mayor's Twitter account, X account, in which he provided all of that information that was not shared before cameras, which is different than the visit last year, where we did see reporters come in and both men took a bunch of different questions. Hallie.
I mean, let's say more about this, because this dynamic between the president of the United States and the mayor of New York City, right? Republican, Democrat, like, it's fascinating because the president legit seems to very much like Mamdani, who at one point, you know, there was discussion of whether he's going to become like the big boogeyman of the Republican Party, basically.
Yeah, an unlikely pairing, but one that seems to keep coming back together. It was interesting, according to Mamdani's office, he requested this meeting with the president before the State of the Union. They set it up for today. And during the State of the Union, you actually had President Trump talking about Mamdani briefly, saying, nice guy, I don't really like all of his policies, but he got a little bit of a shout out there. Today, their meeting focused on housing, and that's why in that original photo that we put up there, you saw those front pages. According to a spokesperson for Mayor Mamdani, it was their office that mocked those up, and that the president was, quote, very enthusiastic about an idea for a new housing project in New York City that would contain about 12,000 units, we understand. They said that essentially this is something that they're going to continue talking about, that when they met back at the end of November last year, the president said, hey, why don't you come up with some big swing ideas for New York City, for, of course, the president's original hometown, and then come back and brief me on that. And it seems like that's what this meeting today was about. Hallie.
Monica Alba there for us on the North Lawn. Thanks, Mon. When we come back, why police in Georgia are warning parents to check their kids' lunch boxes. Plus, baseball's robot umps are finally here. A reality check on how it's going as spring training kicks off, and whether this is actually going to slow down games. That's next. Tonight, a new look at some pretty scary video out of Washington State, where you can see in this Ring camera footage 3 people firing what police say are at least 50 shots at the front of a house right in the middle of the night. Look at that. There was a woman sleeping inside who survived after being grazed by some of the bullets. 4 other people were inside. They were not hurt. Police are still looking for the shooters, but I want to bring in Dana Griffin now because this is super scary. This attack captured on this footage here. You can't really make out the suspects, but what do we know about the investigation?
Yeah, so Hallie, the police department in Tacoma, Washington says they do not have any suspects identified, but they are waiting for ballistics data to come back to try to identify these people. But they tell me that someone out there watching this video will likely be able to identify these people a lot quicker. So they're happy the video was out there. They wanted to get attention. As for the family that was inside, this was a very jarring wake-up call by gunfire. That 21-year-old woman who was sleeping in a bedroom the front bedroom, she was shot multiple times, and the family took us inside that bedroom to show us even a bullet that came through and lodged in one of her blankets. Look.
So you see they're not very big, but they're kind of heavy. Like a little 9mm. We're not sure what kind of the officers didn't really go into explicit detail, but we're just shocked at the number of holes that were right, and she was sleeping right there. I don't want to cry, but this has brought people together. So hate's not going to win. Sorry, hate's not going to win, you know.
Hate is not going to win. So back to the 21-year-old, she is expected to make a full recovery. The Tacoma Police Department tells me that she has already been released from the hospital. And as you just heard there, that family is so grateful to be alive. And they say they don't even know why they were targeted or if they were the intended target. So a big mystery, but obviously 3 people who appeared to be masked wearing dark clothing are on the run, and investigators hope to track them down soon. Hallie.
Dana Griffin, thank you very much for that update. We'll be right back. NBC News covers hundreds of stories every day, and because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Northeast Bureau, New York City police say this is one of the people who threw snowballs at police officers this week, now facing an assault charge. You see that viral video? Here it is again. A few officers were cut on their faces and went to the hospital. The mayor initially had said it looked like kids having a snowball fight, which the police commissioner very strongly disagreed with. Out of our Southern Bureau, check this out. A collision between a car and an Amtrak train in North Carolina. Oh, man, you hate to see it. Amazingly, nobody was hurt, which is good. Now, you can see the crossing arm is down, but the driver tries to go around it. The car ends up smashed. The train's engine was damaged. The driver's facing several charges, including reckless driving. Also out of our Southern Bureau, a warning from a Georgia police department for parents. Make sure you're not packing alcohol in the old lunchbox. They posted this picture. Look at this. Chips, sure. Is that a sandwich maybe? A can of lemon drop martini, not juice. Police sort of jokingly said maybe this is evidence the parent had a long night. Obviously, this is accidental. Just like triple check the can before you drop it in. Also tonight, now that some of the snow is melting, hooray, we're talking baseball. Spring training is up and running. With a question tonight, are robots ruining it? I don't have a take on it, right? I don't have a perspective, but these robot umps that are rolling out, apparently creating a couple of awkward moments already at spring training. Here's how this whole thing works. For the most part, human umpires are still calling balls and strikes, but within 2 seconds of a pitch, the batter or the catcher or pitcher can ask for a challenge if they think the ump blew it. Each team gets 2 challenges. Get them wrong, they're gone. If you keep getting them right, you can keep challenging. So, how's it working so far? Check this out from the Pirates-Red Sox game.
It is a strike, kind of right down the middle. Contreras thinks it missed. We get the look, and that's a ball. And it is another successful challenge.
Caught a lot of the plate.
Ooh, 2 more successful challenges. That ump missed another 2 calls. Let me bring in Ryan Chandler, who's joining us now. Nobody wants an ump to miss a pitch. They're usually pretty good, the humans, at calling balls and strikes, right?
They are, and it's a very hard job to do. It's very complicated. You got to make split-second decisions, and they've been getting better at it consistently for the last 20 years. In fact, just last year, they set the best accuracy record to date in 2025, the record accuracy of almost 93% of pitches. And you can see that they've been increasingly slowly getting better ever since, you see, back in 2008, their inside the zone accuracy was only about 75%, meaning 1 in 4 balls inside the zone were called off. But you can understand how difficult this is. Look at what counts as a strike zone. I actually didn't know this, Hallie, and maybe that's my ignorance, but the strike zone changes for every player. The top and the bottom are based on the height of the batter. You got that 17-inch width, but then it shifts for every batter. So you can understand how they're not going to get this right all along. I think this whole debate really ties into the philosophy of baseball here, which is
that's right.
What degree of accuracy are we entitled to expect as fans? Is it 93 or does it need to be higher? That's where this comes in.
And baseball, you know, in many ways, of all the big sports, it's maybe the one where people love to talk about sort of the purest sport, right? It's baseball. It's like you're out, you know, it's the bats and the balls and everything else. And what's so interesting here, too, is that the MLB has put a lot of thought into trying to speed up dead time in the game. You got the pitch clock, et cetera. Is there any concern that these challenges that you can now call once the regular season starts, that's going to slow things down?
So the whole idea here is they want to keep it exciting, right? It had this reputation of a slow, boring game for many people. Games have gotten shorter. They've gotten a little faster paced. And there is not a concern that this new system is going to slow things down because batters only have 2 seconds to challenge a play. And the way that we've heard it described is it could actually add an exciting new layer to the game. Think about like in the NFL when you have a close call that's challenged. Everybody's looking for those minutes about whether his foot was in, did he catch the ball. It can be a fun part of the game. We talked to a writer with The Athletic who writes about baseball. This is how he described it.
People get into it. They cheer, they boo, they clap if the umpire got it right. Like, it is actually a fun little thing that would go away if they were doing it 50 times a game. But if you're only doing it 3 or 4 times a game, it is fun. Why not make it a part of the product? I'm completely on board with it.
Wait, Ryan,
I know the baseball fans in my life are certainly in support of this, Hallie. Yep.
I think that's such an interesting perspective here, right? Because it is like, I love that. That's so interesting. And this is rolling out. We'll see it in the regular season when it starts soon, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be an exciting season.
Ryan Chandler, will you watch every game and report back to us all season long?
If it's the Astros, I will. Yes, Hallie.
Okay, very good. Ryan Chandler, appreciate you. Thank you. Still to come, the new role for AI that some critics call peak dystopia, how the tech's going to start tracking how friendly workers may be at a popular fast food chain. To tonight's Original Now with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. And tonight it's AI maybe becoming the manners police at the drive-thru. Burger King is rolling out an AI assistant, it says, to help employees provide better service. But it may also track just how friendly that service really is. Just one of the ways new tech is transforming the fast food wars. Here's Christine Romans.
Good morning, Patty.
Would you want an AI voice in your headset all day at work, built to assist you?
Looks like the women's restroom needs cleaning.
But also potentially listening in on your interactions with customers. Well, that's what a new tool at Burger King plans to do, and it's causing quite a stir. The company's chief digital officer telling The Verge the new BK AI, named Patty, was listening for certain words like please and thank you, so managers could see how their staff was performing on friendliness. The home of the Whopper getting flamed on social media.
This is not a job that pays good enough for any sort of AI surveillance.
Or calling it peak 2026 dystopia. Burger King providing NBC News with this video showing off the new tool.
Is there anything that needs my immediate attention?
The team's friendliness scores this morning were the highest this week.
The company telling us in a statement that the tool, listening for keywords, was used in limited pilot restaurants.
This is anonymized data, so it is not tied back to an employee. And it's really a coaching tool. It's about ensuring that we raise the hospitality for the overall restaurant.
The company also saying, we believe hospitality is fundamentally human. It all comes at a crossroads in the economy, with more anxiety about AI replacing jobs, while the new tech drives the stock market to record highs.
A lot of restaurant companies were very, very excited about the prospect of AI chatbots taking your order in the drive-thru. And the technology just isn't quite there yet.
Customers sharing glitches like error-filled mass orders on social media.
AI, please remove the knife.
A Taco Bell exec, for example, telling the Wall Street Journal last year, we're learning a lot. I'm going to be honest with you. Beyond fast food, other big companies are also pushing for better interactions between staff and customers. Starbucks famously bringing back the Sharpie to personalize visits last year. And we covered Target's focus on, quote, joyful guest experiences earlier this month. But some saying corporate mandates won't help with authenticity. You could call it the friendly wars in retail.
The customer interaction matters. And for evidence of this, just take a look at the success of Chick-fil-A. A lot of people, when they talk about Chick-fil-A, don't actually talk about their chicken sandwiches. They talk about how the employees greet them.
There's no question that happy employees help the customer experience.
We feel more inclined to go back to somewhere where we've been treated like really nicely.
So will human customers see through Burger King's AI headset?
That feels like a little bit of overreach to me. Yeah. Big brotherish. I think they don't get paid enough, so I don't really care what they say to me as long as they get paid and I get my food.
Or will the new tech help Burger King one-up its competitors, not on taste, but on smile? Christine Romans, NBC News.
And that does it for this hour. I will see you Sunday on Nightly News and right back here next week on NBC News Now. We've got more coverage picking up right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.